the aspect we're going to look at is how you actually, when you're in these positions, let's say we're going into that one, don't bother for a second, you're in this one, what things should you be thinking about or doing whilst you're in that position, apart from constantly checking your position? Okay, so let me just see if I can do this I know I can really do it on Zoom and do a presentation thing, but I'm going to just try to see if I can show you with my phone. It's a really bad way of doing it, but okay. Right, so here, now then, this, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can. So this is what's called the tensegrity structure. And I've even got the photograph on this computer that I'm using, and I know I could do a share screen thing, but okay, you'll probably get all my photos up first, which you're not going to want. So let me just get this quite near the camera. Okay, so this is a tensegrity structure. Now, it's one of these things that, you know, it's wood and it's elastic. You cut one piece of the elastic and the entire structure goes out of shape. It misaligns. So it's one of these ones that you can squeeze, and then when you let go, it just springs back into this shape again, exactly the same. So that's, you might have seen them. There are other sorts, you know, here's another, this is another sort here, where it's got the wires, this appears to be floating in midair. It's actually only supported by a couple of wires, but this is not such a good example. These are the best ones to look at, because this is how your body should be when you do Qigong. You are using each part of the body to support another part. But then, having said that, that is exactly how Tai Chi should be. You're using each part of the body to support another bit. So again, it's one of these, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts thing. Yeah, so what we're trying to do is, this is just one aspect of the tensegrity structure. And generally speaking, and when we get to the Tai Chi, I will be showing you another aspect of it as well. So when you do standing Qigong, when we're sitting down like this, okay, so we're going to go straight into that posture, okay. But we're not going to lift the hands for a second. So here is your center, yeah? Inch and a half below your tummy button, you can find your tummy button, inch and a half below, and if you then this is the break in your body, if you like, yeah? This is the upper, this is the lower. We need to do two different things with the upper and the lower. So when we sit down, so off we go, we're going to sit down. So just pelvic tilt and sit down. Yeah, and then undo. So you pelvic tilt and you sit down. And then you undo. Right, okay, now then, here's your center. As you sit down, we're not talking about the top of the body, just ignore that for a second, that's going to follow you. Here though, what should happen is there is a feeling of the whole lower body from here downwards, as if it's stretching away from the center. This is almost like the muscles are all doing this away from the center. So when you push away, everything is being stretched towards the ground. It's a difficult concept to get, because you know you've got gravity on your side, so it's hard to feel. So once again, there's your center. You can leave your hands here if you want, or just put your fingers there, it doesn't matter. And you feel like from here downwards, pelvic tilt, and it's all being stretched, as though the muscles are getting longer and longer down towards the floor, but you're sinking because your knees are bending. Okay, so the upper part of the body does a feeling of stretching upwards at the same time. So in other words, we've got upper and lower here. The bottom part feels like there's a pelvic tilt. I'm trying to do a pelvic tilt with my hands, it's really difficult. So you're going under here, sitting down, but this should feel like it's almost going up. However, be really careful, because you don't want to stretch your neck too much. You just get a headache. So again, it's a stretch, but if you think, what have we been doing with the stretching? We've been releasing to do this. So when you sit down and you tuck under and you allow the upper body to release rather than stretch, Everything's going to open upwards, everything's going to open downwards, and here is your dividing point. So when we do this, you just leave your arms out of this and just sit down. Okay, so when you now relax your spine, relax your shoulders, and relax the back of your neck, and then you just come out of it. So we just need to do this several times. You know, this takes a bit of time. First of all, you'll be thinking, oh, bottom does that, top goes that, bottom does this, top. You know, you'll be dividing the two things up. It won't happen in a synchronized way. So we go. And then after a while, just keep going, keep doing it several times, just practice doing it. Because after a while, what will happen is you'll start to get the idea of making them both happen simultaneously, as if here is the point that's just like something opening. Yeah, so you just keep doing it. Now you have to be really cautious not to start stretching your neck up, because keep going, just keep doing it, because it is a release and not a stretch. It's an undoing of your musculature. It's not try and actually work it, because anytime you physically try to stretch something, you're actually tensing muscles. It's only when you do a stretch using release that the stretch really starts to become effective. Okay, so let's just look at the bottom bit for a second here. So we're thinking, you can do the top if you want, but I would just focus on the bottom if you can. So there's a feeling of being drawn down towards the ground. A feeling as though the ground is pulling you down rather than you, well, you can do it two ways. Either the ground is pulling you down, or you're pushing the joints open as you sit down, allowing them all to open. Here's opening, the ankles are opening, everything's opening. When you do that, although you think that would make you stand up, but we've got the simultaneous pulling down as well. So we need the joints to open as you sit down. So there is no crunching up of the joints. There's no squeezing of the joints going on. Yeah, so everything, all those joints are opening. Now, I say all those joints because compared to the upper half, there's absolutely virtually zero joints. You've got a couple here, you've got a couple on the knees, and you've got a couple on the ankles, and that's it. Then you think about the body rising. Well, you've got 33 vertebrae to begin with. You know, so that's all going to open, let alone shoulders when you start lifting arms and elbows and wrists. You know, there's an awful lot there. So what you do is we're now just going to focus on the spine, leave your arms out of it for a second. So you could do it in two bits. As you start to sit down, focus briefly on the legs. Okay, so the joints in your legs are opening. Once you've got that going, now think about just letting go your spine. And undo. So start off with the joints in the legs. Once you've got them going, you can leave them doing their stuff. Okay, so the two things help each other, because when you do a pelvic tilt, just stand up normally. I'm going to be side on, you don't need to be. So put a fist in the small of your back here. Yeah, put a fist in the small of the back. We've done this before many times. So fist in the small of the back. Okay, so you are going to do a pelvic tilt, open the joints and the legs, and just sit down. And what's happening to the small of your back? This is the spine should feel like it's pushing backwards towards your knuckles, which are on your back here. So again, stand up, you're neutral, and then you do the release, open the joints, open the joints, open the joints, and what's happening to your spine? It's starting to push backwards. It should be. If it isn't, it means you're quite tight around the waist and around the back and around your lumbar area, possibly means you suffer from lower back problems. I don't know, but quite often is the case. So when you do that, sit down here, and if your spine is operating and efficiently, so if that's my back there, there's my lower back here, okay, to that angle. As I sit down, this is going to start to happen. It's going to straighten out, and now it's gone back again. Sorry, you can't really see, can you? So here, look, it's just my hand, I'm thinking, not the arm. Okay, so it's in, it's out, it's normal, it's straight, whatever you want to call it. Normal is not the right word. So as I sit down, I push this joint open, I push this joint, I push them all open, but I'm also starting to push the joints open in my back. In other words, I'm losing the natural curvature of my back, if you like, when you're standing upright, and I'm straightening it out. So therefore, when I straighten it out, that starts to happen with your vertebrae at the back. You know, if that's my spine, that starts to happen. The spinous processes which stick out backwards, those are the knobbly bits you can feel. They're your spinous processes. They stick out, a bit like some sort of triceratops or something. So as that happens, that's the beginning of it. And then you need to take that feeling up your spine, right up as far as your neck if you're able to. So once again, you're here. Okay, so we're going to open the joints here, allow them to open. Now the knees and now the ankle. Okay, so now I've started a pelvic tilt. My triceratops impression is beginning, and now I try and allow it to carry on right up into my neck. And then I undo. Now, you have to literally feel up your spine to the neck. So it is, I know the Triceratops, it is, I think, a Triceratops, isn't it? It's got that sort of big sort of blade on its back. I think my kids were into dinosaurs like most kids are at some point. It's that feeling of the spine, that action happening, almost like your back is flowering, you know, it's the opening of the flower on the back. And when it gets up to your neck, so if I, just watch me from the side, okay, so if I do this, okay, chin up, tucked in here, those vertebrae on the back, they're really squashed together. They're really crushed. So what you will feel is as you get the Triceratops opening up to your neck, actually what will happen is your neck will want to do this. And please don't force it to tuck under, because if you do, you're then starting to tense muscles at the front in order to make the back open, and the back won't release properly because you're trying to tense here. So and those messages go round to the back. So it's a release at the front, which will naturally, a release at the back, which will naturally make your chin want to tuck under without you even thinking about it. So here we go. We're going to start the legs bit. So release here, and now I release my knees and my bum's tucking under. I can now feel, and my ankles are gone. I can now feel up my back. Okay, so I've opened the back lower. I'm opening the middle back. And now I'm just reaching the neck, and I can feel a slight desire to tuck my chin under, or more to the point, I actually feel it doing it for me. I don't actually do it. It does it automatically because I'm now focusing on the back opening. Right, so this is the basis to the standing Qigong. So all we now do is we add the arms in. So let's go from feet parallel, yeah, okay. So I start the legs. Okay, I'm opening the joints and the hips, and now the knees, and I'm getting my hands starting to move. Now I've dropped my shoulders, and my arms are starting to lift away, but I'm not worrying about lifting them too much. I'm working on my back opening. I've now reached my lower back, middle back. I've now got to between the shoulder blades, and now my neck is releasing, and I've opened the spine at the neck. And I'm in the second Qigong position that we're using in this set of 5. And just lower. Good. So that's how to use the body, or one way of looking. Well, honestly, there are so many ways of looking at this. This is just one which may work for some of you, may work for others. Not for everybody, perhaps. But the principle is there. This needs to settle and open, but also this needs to rise and open. So it's almost like the body is splitting into 2. With here is the middle. Okay, so this is very important in Tai Chi and Qigong, and so we're always working from here if possible.